What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Friday, April 16th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 14-game slate here tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. Now, of course, if you've got the salary you want to spend up, Jacob deGrom is in a great spot here versus the Colorado Rockies. He's got an 8% pitching advantage here because he's only giving up a .514 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 6 righties. On top of that, the Rockies have only hit 6 of his last 38 pitches. That's a 158 batting average, but he's $11,000 FanDuel salary, and he's the same price on DraftKings. He had an ERA of 2.38 last year, record of 4-2 on the season, pitching an average of 95 pitches per game, averaging 43 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored 67, 43, and 36 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Jacob deGrom here versus the Colorado Rockies. But if you want to save some salary on your pitcher, take a risk here. Look guys, it's always risky when you go with a lower salary pitcher. That's why you just pay the money for Jacob deGrom or one of those elite options. But sometimes these lower salary pitchers can score just as many, if not more, fantasy points than those studs. And if they do that, you're going to have a bunch of money for your batters. And those can be some big time winning lineups. A lot of risk, but I like Yusei Kikuchi with a 4% pitching advantage over the Houston Astros. Yusei Kikuchi, he's only giving up a .663 OPS versus lefties and a .685 OPS versus righties, facing 4 righties, 4 lefties. But what I like about this pick is that the Astros have only hit 7 of his last 42 pitches. That's a 167 batting average. So excellent pitcher versus batter history here. Now he is $8,800 FanDuel salary, but he's $1,600 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. He had an ERA of 5.17 last year. Record was 2-5, pitching an average of 88 pitches per game, averaging 25 fantasy points per game. But take a look at this. He scored 34, 43, and 37 fantasy points in his last 3 games. He's got a pretty good matchup here tonight. So if you want to take the risk, I like Yusei Kikuchi here versus the Houston Astros.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal,
All you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
and then we'll send you $100 PayPal.
So it's that easy.
And we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video.
So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the first base position. I like Ryan Mountcastle with a 70% batting advantage over Mike Foltz. Ryan Mountcastle, he's batting 18% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .883 OPS versus righties. And Mike Foltz, he pitches his worst ball versus righty batters. 51% worse than his pitch to lefties, giving up a 2.514 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Foltz yet, and Ryan Mountcastle is only $2,800 FanDuel salary, and he's $1,600 more on DraftKings. He was averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season last year. He scored 3, 9, and 9 fantasy points in his last 3 games, projected at 9.1 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Ryan Mountcastle here versus Mike Foltz. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like DJ LeMahieu with a 20% batting advantage over Michael Wacha. DJ LeMahieu, he's batting a 1.013 OPS versus righties. And Michael Wacha, he's pitching his worst ball versus righty batters. 19% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.075 OPS versus righties. And I like this pick because DJ is 6 for 13 with a 462 batting average and a 1.154 OPS versus Wacha. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary and $1,500 more on DraftKings. Projected at 11.7 fantasy points here tonight. Averaged 13 fantasy points per game on the season last year. Scored 15, 0, and 6 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like DJ LeMahieu here versus Michael Wacha. Okay, who do we have at the third base position? I like Rafael Devers with a 53% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Dylan Cease. Rafael Devers is batting 31% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .885 OPS versus righties. And Dylan Cease pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters. 22% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .980 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Cease yet, and Rafael Devers is $3,800 FanDuel salary and $1,600 more on DraftKings. Projected at 10.7 fantasy points here tonight. He averaged 11 fantasy points per game on the season last year and scored 0, 3, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Rafael Devers here versus Dylan Cease.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. I'm going to give you a value play here. I like Willie Castro with a 16% batting advantage over Frankie Montas. Willie Castro is batting a .915 OPS versus righties. And Frankie Montas, he pitches his worst ball versus switch hitters. 25% worse than his pitch to righties, giving up a 1.096 OPS versus switch hitters. There's no at-bats versus Montas yet, and Willie Castro is only $2,300 FanDuel salary and $1,500 more on DraftKings. He's projected at 10.9 fantasy points here tonight, averaged 11 fantasy points per game on the season last year, and he scored 25, 0, and 6 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Willie Castro here versus Frankie Montas. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. I like Nelson Cruz with a 48% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Andrew Heaney. Nelson Cruz bats 41% better versus lefty pitchers. He's batting a 1.424 OPS versus lefties. And Andrew Heaney, he doesn't pitch that well versus righties. 8% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .745 OPS versus righties. And I like this pick because Nelson Cruz is 5 for 17. That's a .294 batting average with a 1.192 OPS versus Heaney. But check this out. He has 3 home runs out of those 5 hits. So he is crushing the ball off of Andrew Heaney. And he's $4,000 FanDuel salary. And he's $1,400 more on DraftKings. Projected at 12 fantasy points here tonight. He averaged 12 fantasy points per game on the season last year. And he scored 3 and 9 fantasy points in his last 2 games. So I like Nelson Cruz here versus Andrew Heaney.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.